Let's continue some more behaviors of the poor and the rich. The poor use all their resources today, and if possible, they use their resources from tomorrow. One of the observations I made while working for the bank was, regardless of annual income, the poor were 54% more likely to use paycheck advances. We're talking about APRs in the 120% range. Give you a case in point of this. I remember an individual I spoke with. He and his wife had one child. They had a household income of $160,000. So you might think they're rich, right? And they lived in an area where $160,000 would go far. In other words, they didn't live in San Francisco and New York. They lived more in the Midwest. And I just couldn't believe 3 people are burning through $160,000. And his mortgage payment, I wonder if I recall, it was anywhere from $1,500 to $1,800. So it wasn't like, if you think about $160,000, $1,800 a month is just, even if I go on the high value here, $1,800 is just not going to consume all of $160,000. I believe that's like $20,000 or so in terms of a mortgage payment that he was making annually. Well, and then of course you also got, mortgage interest deduction and so on and so forth. Well, they were blowing money on clothes, food. I mean, we're talking going out to eat, not a couple of times a week, but a couple of times a day. I've never seen money just come out of the account like crazy, right? And so he was calling into advance paycheck, and I was just, I asked him briefly, I was like, you have no money in savings, but you're bringing in good money. Why don't you, look at saving some of this money that you're making, and that way you can get off these paycheck advances? Because, if you advance $500, you're going to pay $50 for that advance. You're just getting poorer and poorer. He's getting poorer and poorer, but their household is making $160,000. This person is not rich. They had no money in retirement accounts, but they're making $160,000, and they don't live in a high cost of living area. You see how it doesn't matter what your income is. There's a poor behavior. And in the long run, as soon as a disaster comes along, what's going to happen to that family? They're in serious trouble. Well, in our example of John and Jason here, John prefers to use all his money, his $650 that he makes a month on his 20 hours of work, for new video games. He's going to use it all. He's not going to put any aside. The rich, by contrast, save some of their resources from today, whether in the form of energy, money, or time. Consider that something as simple as learning today, in some ways, watching like this video and the behavior differences, is paying yourself later. Because when you're tempted to spend money, or you're tempted to blow on something you don't need, what are you going to remember? Wait a minute. The rich save resources from today for the future. Whether it's energy, whether it's money, whether it's time. I like to joke around, the rich take naps because it's better to take a nap than zone out in front of the TV. Right? It's healthier for you. Okay? Jason, by contrast to John, saves $100 a month, approximately 15% of his monthly income. Where is Jason going to be at 20 versus John? Remember, they're both in high school. Go back and watch the intro. Okay? And again, the poor behavior didn't matter of income. $160,000, still depending on a $500 monthly advance and paying $50. That person, regardless of how much money they're making today, is going to end up poor. Okay? Next one. This one's good. The poor talk. The rich listen. 2 of my favorite quotes that I have to say to myself almost daily. There's one by John D. Rockefeller. Success comes from keeping the ears open and the mouth shut. And then Sun Tzu, great wisdom is not obvious, great merit not advertised. And I say here in this example, John talks about his gaming accomplishments with his friend and boasts that he's the best player among all of them. Jason identifies an opportunity in listening to his friends speak about their favorite games. Really interesting observation I've made, not just at working at the bank, but just among friends. Every single friend I've ever had who said, I had a really great idea and shared the idea with all of us, 100% of the time never ended up following through with it. Good ideas aren't shared. They're done. Right? And good ideas, a lot of times, even I found this, they come from just listening, not from talking. When you're talking, you can't hear. When people start telling you about their problems, that's an opportunity, right? That's a great opportunity. So be the listener to problems. What is the problem that people are facing? Is this a regular problem? Be the problem solver. If you're solving people's problems, you will go very far. You can identify opportunities. And then the other thing, and the big one here, is that when you have an idea, just do it. Don't talk about it. Talk about it after the idea is built. But don't talk about the idea, just do it.